So we just passed a very devastating COVID number, but we also passed a positive one. So let me break this down for you. This is in the Los Angeles Times. Almost 130 million people 18 or older have received at least one dose of a vaccine, or 50.4% of the total adult population, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported. Almost 84 million adults, or about 32.5% of the population, have been fully vaccinated. The U.S. cleared the 50% mark just a day after the reported global death toll from the coronavirus topped 3 million. According to totals compiled by Johns Hopkins University, though the actual number is believed to be significantly higher. The country's vaccination rate, at 61.6 doses administered per 100 people, currently falls behind Israel, which leads among countries with at least 5 million people with a rate of 119.2. The U.S. also trails the United Arab Emirates, Chile, and the United Kingdom, which is vaccinating at a rate of 62 doses per 100 people, according to Our World in Data, an online research site. So, we're a significantly bigger country than any of those countries. And the fact that we're doing as well as we are really is, I think, one of the biggest successes of modern society for decades. So, it's rare that I give credit, but this is one of those areas where credit has been earned. The creation of the vaccine and the distribution of the vaccine has now become a giant success. And it's one of the few bright spots in an otherwise terrible time when it comes to the pandemic and when it comes to the economy. I mean, 3 million people dead, and again, they say the real number is probably way higher because these things always lag. 3 million people officially dead from COVID around the world. That's a terrible number. What a terrible milestone. But over 50% of the U.S. population now had at least one dose of a vaccine. That's gigantic. And also, I should be clear, if you get one dose of the Pfizer or the Moderna, you already get a decent amount of protection. You already get a decent amount. So that's big. That's big. I think we have to get to 70 or 80% or so before we have herd immunity, and so you just hope we get there as soon as possible. But you know, I have to say, most of the time you get a lot of doom and gloom on this show because I just go wherever I think the news and the facts takes me, but this is an area where we far surpassed my expectations, that's for sure. We were doing poor with the vaccine rollout for a while. We're doing really well now. I mean, over half the country is vaccinated, or half of the adults, I should say, have gotten at least one shot. That's huge. So let's get to that 70% number. Let's get to that 80% number. And by the way, there's another article I saw. I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but the COVID vaccines are 100% effective against hospitalization and death from COVID. 100%. But even if you broaden the scope out further of people who get COVID, in the sense that they have some symptoms, even if it's just like a cold, the numbers are incredibly tiny of people who've had it, who have had the vaccines. So that's a great sign. And once you start seeing the effects of herd immunity, it's going to be great. The only downside is we might have to start getting, I mean, there was apparently a report on this about Pfizer, that you have to get another shot. And you might have to get it yearly like the flu shot. Which is a shame, but, it is what it is. And this thing is a scourge, and it's unlike anything that we've seen in the modern era, that's for sure. I mean, you have to go to the 19 teens before you saw a pandemic this terrible and this widespread. So, anyway, that's some good news, man. The 3 million is terrible and heartbreaking, and it's even worse than that. But 50.4% of the total adult population having at least one vaccine definitely surpassed my expectations.